Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are really digging into one of football's most fascinating divisions, the NFC East.
Always a good one to watch.
Definitely. We've gone through, a bunch of sources, articles, notes, everything, to pull out a really bold prediction for 2025. Plus, we've got some key updates on the big names there.
Right.
The idea is to give you a solid, quick grasp of what's happening in that division right now.
And it's perfect timing. I mean, the NFC East, it's got that history, right? Maybe the toughest division, historically speaking.
Yeah, you could argue that.
You've got the Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants. I mean, 4 huge franchises. And the buzz right now, the predictions, it feels like it could be a really big year for the division.
Okay, so let's jump straight into that prediction then, because it's definitely grabbing headlines. The Philadelphia Eagles, they're predicted to break a 21-year streak.
That's the one, a long one.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. No team in the NFC East has won the division back-to-back since the Eagles themselves did it way back, like 2001 to 2004. 4 straight.
Incredible run back there.
So yeah, 21 years is a serious drought for repeat champs in a division this competitive.
It really is. And this bold prediction, it's maybe way too early, as he puts it, but it comes from Jeffrey Chadiha at NFL.com.
Okay, what's he saying exactly?
Pretty straightforward. Quote, 3, the Eagles will be the first team to repeat as NFC East champs in 21 years. Just like that.
Wow. Okay, that's a strong take, especially with the NFC East's reputation for, chaos. What makes Chadiha feel so confident? Why are the Eagles pegged as being that good this season, especially after, let's be honest, that rough end to 2023?
Well, he lays out a few key things. First, even though they lost, 5 key vets on defense?
Yes, significant losses.
Right, but he argues the core, the main structure of that team is still very much intact. And the offense, even with a new OC, Kevin Patullo, taking over from Kellen Moore, it's still described as stacked.
Stacked out, specific players.
Yeah, definitely. He points to Saquon Barkley, the running back. Huge numbers last year, over 2,500 total yards if you combine regular season and playoffs. That adds a whole new dimension.
Big time.
Then there's Jalen Hurts. Chadiha calls him one of the most underrated leaders in the game. Plus, the receivers, the O-line. Still seen as top tier, among the best.
Okay, so the offense sounds solid. What about the defense with those losses?
The thinking there is Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, he'll get the new guys up to speed pretty quickly. And they're not starting from scratch. They still have stars.
Cool.
He specifically mentions Jalen Carter, the D-tackle, Zach Bowen, the linebacker, an all-pro, so, elite.
All right, top of the league.
Exactly. And then those second-year DBs, Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, the expectation is they'll all be among the best pretty soon.
Okay.
Plus, you look at their record leading up to the Super Bowl last year, won 16 of 17, I think, and they played really well against KC in the big game. And maybe most importantly, Chadiha notes that a good number of players were there for that epic meltdown late in 2023. The idea is they learned from that, learned how tough it is to stay on top.
Okay, so the talent's there, the coaching's respected, and maybe they have that chip on their shoulder from last season's end. But making predictions this early, there's always that big unknown. It's right. The sources mention a caveat.
Oh, absolutely. It's the oldest story in the book, isn't it? Injuries.
Yeah.
If they stay healthy, the sources seem to agree they've got a really good shot. But, 1 or 2 key injuries, that can change everything, especially in a tough division.
Right. And speaking of key pieces, let's talk about Jalen Hurts for a second. Pro Football Focus, PFF, they had some interesting data on his supporting cast, kind of backing up this idea of the Eagles being loaded.
They really did. PFF, they grade everything. And they found the Eagles had, I think it was the 5th best supporting cast for Hurts in the whole league in 2024. An 80.8 grade, which is considered pretty elite on their scale.
Yeah, overall.
Yeah. And what's interesting is Hurts himself, his individual PFF passing grade, was actually kind of middle of the pack, ranked 23rd among qualifiers.
Huh. So the team around him was elite, even if his own grade wasn't.
Exactly. It kind of shows how that roster, Ku Barkley, A.J. Brown, that fantastic O-line, really helped carry the team to that championship. It wasn't just about Hurts' individual stats. It was the whole package.
That makes sense. Team game.
Totally. And for 2025, that continuity is huge. 10 of the 11 offensive starters are back. So the thinking is, similar success is likely.
And the line specifically.
PFF liked him too. 6th best pass blocking grade, 73.6. That was 4th best in the NFC. So yeah, since about 2021, Hurts has been, pretty fortunate to have a strong group around him, adding guys like Brown, Smith, and now Barkley. it just keeps getting better on paper.
That PFF stuff really puts the team strength into perspective, beyond just the QB. Okay, so the Eagles look strong, maybe strong enough to break the streak. But what about the rest of the division? It's the NFC East. It's never just one team.
Never. No. The sources suggest the whole division is looking competitive again. The Commanders, they look better on paper after the offseason.
Okay, potential improvement there.
The Cowboys, they're expected to be healthier and should be better. Always dangerous when healthy.
True.
And even the Giants, they're seen as being in a better place right now. Russell Wilson at QB is obviously a big factor there.
Right. So still looks like a dogfight.
Pretty much. I mean, remember, last year's NFC Championship game was Eagles versus Commanders. The division is tough.
Good point. Okay, let's shift from the teams to some individual players making news. Terry McLaurin in Washington. Sounds like his contract situation is heating up.
Yeah, that's definitely one to watch as training camp gets closer. McLaurin, he's a two-time Pro Bowler, really good receiver.
Very consistent.
Super consistent. He's going into the last year of his deal. He says he wants to stay, but the reports are clear. He isn't looking to play again until he has a new deal.
And he skipped minicamp because of it.
Yep. Voluntarily held out of mandatory minicamp. It shows he's serious. And Albert Breer over at SI threw out a number, saying talks will probably start around $30 million a year.
Wow, $30 million.
Yeah. If that happens, he'd be like top 8 among receiver salaries in the league.
He's definitely their best weapon on offense.
Absolutely. He's been their best offensive skill player, putting up over 1,000 yards 5 years straight, even with, all the QB changes they've had.
That's impressive consistency.
It really is. Now, some folks might point out he's turning 30 in September. There might be some skepticism there.
Always happens around that age.
Right. But his performance has been undeniably top tier. So he's got about a month until camp starts July 22nd to get something done. It'll be interesting.
For sure. Okay, from a high-stakes contract negotiation to something maybe a bit lighter but still important to the player, Giants rookie Abdul Carter and his jersey number.
Huh. Yeah, it's a fun little story, but it shows you what matters to these guys sometimes. Carter, the rookie linebacker, apparently had to do some serious work to find a number.
What happened?
Well, first he asked about 56. You know who wore 56 for the Giants?
Hollis Taylor. Yeah, not going to happen.
Exactly. Retired. Big no. So then he tried for 11, his college number.
Also retired Phil Simms.
Right. Again. Another no. So he finally landed on 51, and he posted something like, 51 growing on me on social media back in June.
That's funny. You forget how much those numbers can mean.
Totally. But look, the main thing with Carter isn't the number, it's the talent. This guy was the number 3 overall pick. People are comparing him to Micah Parsons.
High praise.
Extremely high. So yeah, 51 might be growing on him, but his goal is to, leave his own legacy, whatever number's on his back.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit. The Eagles' prediction, the PFF data backing up their roster strength, the outlook for the Cowboys, Commanders, Giants, and these player stories like McLaurin and Carter.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a really competitive division again. No surprises there for the NFC East.
Not at all. It feels like 2025 is set up for some serious battles within that division.
Absolutely. And, thinking about all this, the Eagles trying to break that streak, the talent across all the teams, it makes you wonder, beyond just staying healthy, what does it really take for a team to dominate consistently in a division like this? What's the actual biggest hurdle, maybe something less obvious than injuries, for any of these teams trying to stay on top or get to the top this year?
That's a good question. Something for you all to think about as we get closer to the season.